Naxat Soft was a prolific developer for the PC Engine, releasing many great games for the system, and this is a title I've mentioned before but didn't really get into until now. Toshi Tensou Keikaku Eternal City is a Metroid-like action game released on April 12th of 1991. It had a grand total of 6 people working on it. The illustrator was Masamune Shiro, the creator and illustrator of Ghost in the Shell. He's well known for his sci-fi art and awesome mech design, so it's really cool to see here. For the rest of the team, we're not told who did what, so I guess we have to infer it based on their other works. Most of the team would go on to work on Kasekiri, which came out 3 years later. Eternal City stars Minty Guile, a woman piloting a mech known as Algidaros, and exploring a giant underground city swarming with dangerous robots and unknown technology. The game has no real story, neither in the opening nor the manual. I like to think that the mech Algidaros was discovered within the Eternal City as it's known. Maybe this giant underground area has been known about for a long time, but it's laid dormant, silent. And as they experiment on the mech and they find out that Minty's a real great pilot for it, after she's gotten the hang of how to use the machine, a bunch of robots start spewing out of the Eternal City, attacking nearby villages and cities. The military has got to fight back to protect its people, and Minty is sent to neutralize the threat by destroying the defense robots found inside. That's just an idea I came up with that I like though. There again is no real story. So onto the game itself. We start out above ground. The mech can walk, jump, shoot, and crouch. At first it feels kinda awkward. You can't shoot at angles and many enemies are hard to hit. But as soon as you get the boosters, taking care of enemies becomes way easier. The boosters can be upgraded and you get different versions as you go on. It doesn't take long until you're allowed to just fly for long distances, and it's super fun. To fly, you press up when you're mid-air. Later on you get this ground boost. Just hold down while pressing left or right and you'll zoom around. There's also multiple weapons to swap between. Press select and use the D-pad to change weapons. You can also press the 1 button to swap between other settings to use the energy tanks, for example, in the menu, where you can press the run button to use one of your stored energy tanks, which fully restores your shield. You get a good amount of these throughout the game, so don't feel afraid to use them. Your goal is to defeat the security robots assigned to different zones. There's 8 zones in total and they're pretty big, which is why you're given an almost complete map of the game in the manual. Using this to keep track of where you're at is essential. I recommend this map made by Cypress Dahlia on GameFAQs. They even corrected an error in the manual's rendition of the map. I was marking down where I had gone and using my drawing software on my PC while playing the game. The important thing is to look out for these larger square rooms. There'll be one of 4 types. Message rooms, which just gives you information about where to go or what zone is where and so on. Item rooms, which give you weapons, boosters, upgrades, and consumables. Energy rooms, which fully charge your shields or weapons. And last but not least, the save rooms or password rooms. The game uses a password system, but the key difference here compared to most password systems is that this one saves the password to your console. See, early models of the PC Engine didn't have any way to save, but eventually they released memory expansion units which were also built into later consoles. Since I have the Duo R console, which is a later release, it remembers my password. So if you want to continue your game, just go to the password, select yes, and it'll automatically insert the last password you got, and bam, you're on to the last save station you arrived at. This is such a smart system, giving ways for any user of any console to save their progress. Keep in mind that you'll be set to the default gun and boosters every time you load back in, so switch that over to whatever you want as you begin to play, as your starter weapon gets outclassed immediately. Killing enemies and defeating bosses will also add to your level, so shooting down enemies during traversal does add a little. But most of the exploration feels fun to me precisely because the game is a big old maze, so just slowly marking off progress is rewarding to me in and of itself. But if that's not something you think sounds fun, this game is going to be a hard sell. One mildly annoying aspect of the game is that when your shields are low, it plays this irritating beeping sound, and you can get the beeping to stop by pressing select, and the game will pause to inform you that your shields are low, which is like, yeah, no shit. So if you have low health and you want to regenerate your shields, you gotta press select twice to make the message go away, and then press select again, go to the shield menu, and then press run to use the shield container. I wish they simplified this a little, but I got used to it pretty fast. It's really just a minor gripe. Also, your ammo for most weapons is unlimited, but you have this sort of stamina bar system where each time you shoot it goes down, and it'll go up on its own. It makes timing your shots a little more important, and if you wanted to go back up immediately because you're fighting a boss or whatever, use one of the many weapon charges you get throughout the game. It's kind of a weird system, but I don't mind it. The guns you get later on will not go up on their own, so you need to use the weapon charges for those, or you need to find a room that restores the weapon. I think the game looks nice, having some interesting areas and varied enemy designs. Each zone feels very different, and even areas within the zones can have distinct looks, which helps keeping track of your location. There might not be a lot of objects in the way, and things are generally very blocky and square, but the zones all have their unique with music. And it's all very atmospheric stuff. There's some fun details and unique spots like this waterfall inside the caves, or these fun moving machine parts. And man, I love the soundtrack. The PC Engine in general just has such a fun vibe to its sound chip. Something important to note is that when you get to the final area, Zone 8, you cannot go back. Or, well, you can, but then the gate is closed and it tells you have to defeat the required boss, which is wrong because I already entered the door, no problem. So if you enter Zone 8, then go back to Zone 7 to save, you're soft locked. And if you save at this point, you gotta start over or use a different password. Zone 8 is a giant outer space section where you have to hunt down 8 bosses. You can't fly too far down or you'll enter the atmosphere and take damage. I guess your mech can't handle atmospheric re-entry, which makes sense. I really love the idea of flying through space and seeing this neat background as the final zone, but the problem is that this is a huge area. The bosses are in specific spots and will only show up in the right order. I made this crude map of the bosses and the order you have to fight them in. I can also recommend using the World of Long Plays video and following along with what they're doing to find them. Without a guide, you could be flying around for a long time before finding anything. Anyways, once you beat them all, the different zones are no longer under the control of the machines and the beacons fire up from the ground as Minty watches from space. And that's it, game over. Honestly, it's just a fun title to explore, keeping track of where you're at on the map and just going to all the rooms. You have to be okay with backtracking, especially in the halfway point of the game. There's a pretty big trek to take on. I don't mind it because I was just playing the game, watching stuff on the side, talking to people online, and keeping an eye on the map as I go. It's kinda nice. I think the game's a good time overall, even if it's not for everyone. I just really wish they made the final area smaller, or made the bosses spawn after a certain amount of time had passed. It would also be nice to have some sort of fast travel system, but I still think it's good as it stands. It just needed something more to be truly amazing. And again, I really would have appreciated just a little crumb of a story, but there's something kind of fun about just inferring your own ideas on what's going on like I did. And if it seems interesting to you, then I recommend giving it a go. That's all I got for you this time. Thanks for watching.